Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today is a stitchy day, I think. It's Sunday, it's quiet, and yep, I'm here to do a bit of stitching. So I thought, why not just sit down and spend this time with my good friends? So here I am, and I've decided to work on Happy Village, which is a Heaven and Earth Designs chart, and the artist is called Irena Orlov, I believe, and it's a regular size, although I have cropped the picture, and I'm going to put a picture up on the screen with the actual cropped section, which is the actual part that I'm stitching. So thank you for joining me, and yeah, get your stitching out. If you want to stitch along with me, that would be great. So this chart, I'm working 25 count easy guide fabric, which means it's got the little squares, grey squares, as you can see. And I'm also doing tent stitch with 2 strands, which, as a lot of people know by now, is my go-to method for full coverage, because you only have to do half the stitch and it's good coverage. It's actually good coverage. I did try out both of those things, the full cross and the tent stitch, before I started doing any full coverage, and I think I did something like 300 stitches with both techniques, and I thought, you know what, the tent stitch is absolutely fine. It's good coverage, and a lot of people would prefer to use 2 strands tent and 1 strand for the full cross on this particular count, because it tends to get very bulky, very difficult to push your needle through if you decide to use 2 strands full cross on this count. So I think safely the majority of people realize that it gets more and more difficult the more color changes you have. So yeah, it's a 1 strand for the full cross and a 2 strand for the tent. Although I think some people would just have their own preferences, which is fine, but I definitely could not do a 2 strand full cross on this particular count. I think I would break quite a few needles. So how has everybody been? It hasn't been that long since I last did a video. I worked on my sewing lady. Well, that's what I've called her now, because the Heaven and Earth chart was called A Lady Sewing in an Interior, and I just thought that was a bit of a mouthful, really. So I decided to call her just Sewing Lady. That's my sort of, you know, my easy version, my nickname for the chart. So it's Sewing Lady, and that's the new one that I'd started, and I did a stitch with me about a week ago, just over a week on that one. And again, I started in the top left corner, which isn't very interesting because all you get is like nothing really, just a bit of decoration in the corner, and it's a lot of browns and a lot of blacks. So I'm looking forward to actually getting into seeing a little bit more of the actual lady, but that's probably not going to happen for a few weeks yet. And that's what I did last time. And in between, from then, well, since I last did that stitch with me, I've been working on my Sad Fairy chart, which I had put away. So she got a long time out. She just had a long time out period. And then one day I woke up and thought, you know what, it's time for her to come back out. When I reached 50% on Sad Fairy, I put her away, and I was just sort of focusing on other charts. And then I brought her out, and then I sort of thought to myself, well, I don't want to put her away again and forget about her. So what can I do? I'm going to have to review my rotation again, because I feel like Riverwalk Charm has been my focus piece for ages now, and I've just about reached nearly 50% on that one as well. So I'm thinking I want to give them both a push and try to get them to 60%. And with charts of that size that have around about 300,000 stitches, it takes a while. It does take maybe a month or two to actually, or even longer, to actually do 10%. I guess it depends on how frequently you stitch on it. And hang on, I just need to park this thread here. So 2 down. It gets harder and harder to park when you've got so many threads in the way. So I wanted to get a good push on Sad Fairy and River Walk Charm. And instead of doing that, I just went and started a new chart, didn't I? I mean, talk about ridiculous. This is the crazy world of cross stitch, the crazy world of HAED and full coverage. It's like you say to yourself, I need to do X, and then you go and do the complete opposite. Anyway, aside from that, and I don't regret that really, but anyway, I have had to think about my rotation a little bit more intently because I don't know, I want to do more of Sad Fairy at the moment. I'm sort of going by my urges, not necessarily. So whatever I feel like is pulling me is what I go towards, and I try to figure out a rotation with whatever's pulling me. I think it's the way I'm trying to word it. So Sad Fairy's been pulling me, so I have to think about my rotation again. So I thought to myself, for the month of August, I'm going to do Sad Fairy and River Walk Charm, which is really nearly always going to be in the picture now because it has to keep moving. Because if it doesn't keep moving, I think it's just going to stay in a cupboard. So I have to keep it out and, you know, make myself accountable for it, because I really do want to get that one finished at some point. I don't want these old charts to be lingering on and on and on for like 20 years. So I brought them out again, and I've decided to rotate them during the week. And on the weekend, I've decided to allow myself one day to stitch on Happy Village and the new one that I started, which is the Lady Sewing. And on Sunday, I'm free to do whatever I like. So I think that's a really nice way about doing things, because it gives me a chance to also just pick something that, you know, I want to do, and then I won't feel like I'm stuck. So basically today I thought, well, today's Sunday, I can do whichever chart I want. So I'm going to do Happy Village and do a stitch with me at the same time. So both things worked out really well. And during the week, I can focus on Sad Fairy and River Walk Charm. And I think, to make it even more interesting, I'm going to work, like you're probably thinking, well, how much are you going to work on one? Are you going to rotate those two throughout the week, one after the other? Are you going to bring them out, you know, one every day? Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like 1,000 stitches on one, and then I'm going to do 1,000 stitches on the other. And I need to find a bit of time to do a couple of 100 stitches on my HAED sal, because I want to get the page finished by the end of the year. But that there's only about 6,000 stitches left, so I'm going to just bring it out as and when and just get those stitches out before December. I've got loads of time until I don't have loads of time. That's the plan anyway. So that's the plan now. Ask me again next week what the plan is. Oh yes, I've heard this all before. This is so deja vu, this whole conversation. If I go back to my older videos, I've probably done and said the same thing and changed it all around. Never mind. But that's the news I can bring you today anyway. That's the sort of that's the feelers that I've got at the moment in terms of plans. So basically what I'm doing is, and you can also consider that, as I'm paying more attention to my older whips at the moment and slightly less attention to the newer whips. But I think that kind of makes sense, because you kind of want to, you know, press on your older whips sometimes. Otherwise, you're just going to end up having older whips forever, you know. And I'm not like strictly about just having the end result and trying to rush to a finish line. But I do want to see, I like to see progress, and I never get to see much progress because I'm always flitting around, swapping things around. And then I think, well, it looks like I've hardly done anything this year because I've worked on so many different things. So yeah, eventually you find something that works and that sticks. And then sometimes you want to change it up, and that's perfectly fine. Nothing has to stay set in stone. It's all about whatever you're feeling at the time. And even if you want to put something away for a long time, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because we all need to put things away from time to time because we just don't want to see them again. Or we've just had enough of them, right? We've just had enough of them. And then after a while we think, oh gosh, look, there is this one that I put away last year and I haven't touched it. I'd like to do some more. So things can feel a little bit fresh again and renewed. There's a lot of colours going on in this little square here. However, I'm coming into these darker colours down here very soon, which would make things slightly easier. So we've had a lovely week here in Edinburgh. It's been lovely and sunny. I have been out and about. My husband has a week off next week, so we are going to take advantage of that, hopefully. We haven't got any holidays as planned. I do have a holiday coming up later on in the year, but for this week coming, it's just going to be sort of local. We'll do things locally. So that will be really nice. Again, that's going to really sort of take away some of my stitching time, which I kind of have to accept because I don't really want to spend every day stitching all day long. I have got other things that I need to do. Oh, what's going on here? I think I've used the wrong colour. Please tell me I haven't used the wrong colour. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I have. Let me just work this out. Okay, I've messed up. So I'm going to have to pull this one out, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because this one, I think, is wrong. Okay, so I made a little boo-boo there, but hopefully I've fixed it now. Can't remember what I was saying. So I think I was talking about having time off and doing stuff and not doing stitching the whole time. I have been doing a little bit of sewing on my sewing machine. Now, I'm no expert at it, but I have been making a few little bits and pieces. Just, you know, to get an idea of, because I've had a machine for a while. I never bring it out, and I never attempt to make things with it. But I thought I would do that just for variation, because sometimes when I need a break from the stitching, I need to go find something else that's going to be interesting, something new to learn. Okay, there's a problem here. I have a stitch colour in the wrong place. Let's see if I can amend that. Goodness me, when you get so many blues that are the same, it starts to get a little bit awkward, let's say. And it's so easy to start parking them in the wrong places. I'm not off to a good start here, I have to say. Never mind, we shall soldier on. I'm not one to give up easily, even if I've got to rethread my needle 20 times. I kind of have the patience for that now. It doesn't bother me anymore. Oh, I may moan and curse a little bit, but hey, Don't we all have a few interesting words in our vocabulary? So I've got my little cat, Misty, here, curled up beside me. I'm just hoping that she will stay settled for a little bit longer, because if she moves me, everything's going to start going a bit awkward. Right, I think I'm on the right track. I'm having a bit of trouble getting my needle through today. This is not a normal occurrence. I use the same kind of needle every time I stitch. This is a size 24, for those of you who are wondering and know about needle sizes. Size 24, it's a John James brand, I think. Oh no, this is a Pony. This is called Pony. I do have John James as well. And for some reason today, it's being scratchy, and I don't like scratchy needles, but maybe sometimes your needle, don't know, changes or deteriorates. I don't know. I wouldn't have thought so, but sometimes you might need to swap out your needle for a new one. I'm not one to sort of break my needles or anything like that, really. But it's being a little bit scratchy today, and I don't really like scratchy needles. I prefer, I like them a little bit blunt and not too blunt. It's really difficult to describe that unless you're a stitcher and you've used needles frequently for many different projects. And you've used them on many different types of fabric as well. So you know that one type of needle for one fabric isn't necessarily good for another type of fabric. And I think that's absolutely true. I think you have to sort of experiment with your needles to see which one you prefer. I do feel a bit congested today, so pardon me if I sound nasally. I blame the cat completely for that, because she's so fluffy and she's losing so much of her fur this time of year. 2, 3, down. No, that one goes there. Really trying to make an effort not to park in the wrong place. So she's shedding a lot of hair, and a lot of it is going right up my nose, which is driving me a bit mad. I'm not allergic to her, but it does irritate my nose. And if it gets a bit crazy, I'll end up sneezing, and yeah, I need to go around with the vacuum cleaner like 3 times a day. Oh, the joys. But she's worth it. She's worth it. She's so affectionate and so cuddly, and oh, those of you with cats know exactly what I mean. And can be a little devil at the best of times. I've seen a fair few cats recently on floss tubes, and it's been very amusing, some of the antics they get up to. Very, very amusing. Yeah, they can be so funny, honestly, chasing their tails, causing chaos. Yeah, I love it when they come out when they show up on the floss tubes, and they just don't care who's watching. Every time I bring this chart out, I just love the blues. Something about blue. Blue is my favorite color, by the way, if you haven't guessed. Something about blues that I just love. And I always gravitate towards blue colors. What color is this one? Right, I think we're improving after a tricky start. to the session. As long as I'm careful of where I'm parking, I'm fine. So did I say that we've had some, I wouldn't say extreme heat, because I would save extreme heat for my years spent in the Mediterranean. But here in Scotland, it has been hot and sticky and muggy. And you kind of have to leave the window open just to get, you know, some kind of breeze, because it's been sort of humid. But then when you leave the window open, in comes the moths and the flies. And that's great fun for the cat. She'll run up and down the corridor like a crazy thing, trying to catch the flies. And there was a huge moth in the bathroom the other night, and I screamed my head off because I'd gone to the bathroom and I hadn't noticed it till I got into the shower. And then when I was in the shower, I realized there was a moth, and I screamed my head off. You'd think it was like a huge spider or a dragon or something. My husband came running in. What's wrong? I said, there's a great big moth. He's like, oh my God, you know, why are you screaming about a moth? Anyway, so it was time to call in the cat. And she came in and went berserk when she saw this moth. Okay, what color is this one? And I think that's 3816. Hold on. Oh, please. Checking my thread. And I tell you, she would not leave that bathroom for the entire night, because we don't get a lot of bugs in this place. So whenever they do come, it's like a, you know, special event. So I went to bed and I shut the bedroom door and left the cat to it. And in the morning, that poor little moth, well, it wasn't little, to be honest, it was a great big thing. That moth was dead at the bottom of the shower. So she's really, you know, whenever some bug does come in, she likes to have that exercise. She likes to get that primitive instinct going, and it's good for her to do that, you know. Even though I don't like flies and don't like bugs, I don't necessarily want to kill anything. Now, bees and wasps are a different thing. I would definitely not allow her to get near those. But flies, yeah. She can fly hunt as much as she likes. Right, so I'm slowly chipping away at these part threads here, which is great. And the other thing I've been doing this past week is bobbinating all my threads. And oh my Lord, I didn't realize how many threads I had till I started bobbinating them. And my goodness, there has been so many of them. And I just wanted to get them all into some sort of order, because they're all over the place in different projects, different boxes, different bags. I kept quite a lot of them in envelopes, and a friend of mine kindly put them all into bobbins for me. She's very good at that. And that was a great thing. I was so grateful. And I did a few myself, and it just never seems to end. There's so many bobbins, but I think I'm coming close to the end now, and yeah, it's starting to look a bit more organized, which is great. Because there's nothing worse than having bits all over the place. So you want to go and find something, and it could be just about anywhere. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so I'm going to hit this corner here, and that'll be my diagonal. Will start to look more like a diagonal, less strange with that little peak sticking out. I don't know how long the diagonal phase is going to last. Usually, and I hope this doesn't happen again, normally when I have a couple of very long, nice diagonals, that is when I decide to mess it all up and go back to blocks. And I don't want to do it again this time because it takes so long to get the diagonal thing going again after you've messed it up, that I'd rather just keep it as diagonal. But we all have like very strange tendencies to aim to do something and then change it all. I kid you not, I change things all the time. All the time. Which makes it interesting, but it's also a bit of a pain. I wish I could just stick to one thing and not be changing it up the whole time. That would just be easier. So my hubby has gone off to a friend's birthday do. So I think they're going to go for a meal and then, no, sorry, I'm wrong. They're going to go bowling and then they're going to go for a bite to eat. So I don't expect him back, and it's going to be at least an hour away journey. So don't expect him back before early evening, more or less, around 9 o'clock-ish, maybe 10 even, he'll be back. So I've got most of today. Let's see what time it is now. It's already 2 o'clock, guys, so I don't really have much of the day left. But I was planning to get all sorts of things done today when he said he was going to a friend's birthday bash, and I thought, okay, that's good. I can get some, I can do a stitch with me, I can do this, I can do that, and I've got piles of stuff everywhere that I can do, and I think I'm probably only going to get through the stitch with me and maybe one other thing, like I might be able to get back onto my sewing machine if I'm lucky. Once I've edited this video and everything else and uploaded it, because I don't like to sort of leave that. Yeah, goodness knows how much time I'm going to have left, so. But I'm not going to rush it. I'm not going to rush it. Whatever time I get is the time I get, and that's it. I'm cool with that. So I'd be interested to know what your rotation is at the moment. Let me know what if you're even doing a rotation, because you might even just be doing a monogamous stitch. We were all monogamous stitches once. That's what I've heard people say. I used to be monogamous until I came to flosstube. Oh yes, it cracks me up. Now I have like hundreds of whips. Well, I don't have hundreds, but I've got maybe about 20. Well, I know I've got 15 at the moment that are 14 or 15 that are actual whips that have been started in some form. And then I've probably got about another 10, maybe a bit less, sort of kit type things that haven't been started. So I don't think that's too bad going. But also I don't collect, like I know that collecting, oh dear, I'm going to get a bit of a knot. I know that collecting whips is a hobby, but I don't really, it's not my kind of hobby. I don't really like collecting kits and things because I just don't want to have piles of kits that I know I'm probably never going to get time to stitch, or they're just going to sit there looking at me, making me feel bad. I'm not a collector like that. So I've got a few that I've sort of bought over the years, but that's it. Until I get through the little stash that I've got, I'm not into the collecting type of thing. I think that goes for PDFs as well, because I don't really have the urge to like buy loads of things. But I totally get that, you know, because a lot of charts can sort of disappear or be retired, and that it doesn't make sense to actually buy something that you think you're very likely to do in the future. And I totally get that. But what happens to me often is I go crazy about a chart, and then a month later I look at it again. I think, I'm not really sure I liked it as much now as I did when I downloaded it or when I looked at it the last time. I've taken a lot of things off my wish list that I know I wouldn't stitch. So I'm not quite as, let's say, spontaneous now about starting something, because I'm not sure I'm ever going to continue with it. I have started lots of things, I'm sure many of us have, and not continued with them. But yeah, I'm not going to download. I'm not going to like collect loads and loads of things. Unless I actually think I'm going to. Like, there's more than a 50% chance of stitching it in the future. That's just the way I do my stitching stuff. Like, everybody's got their own style, their own way of collecting, their own way of not collecting. That's what makes it interesting, I think. And I tell you what is annoying is I've looked at charts at the same point that I thought, oh, that's really nice. I might like to stitch that at some point. And then I haven't purchased the chart. And then 3 years later, I'm like, oh my God, the chart's not available anymore. And I didn't get it when it was. Yeah, that's frustrating, but hey, that is just bad luck. That has happened to me with one particular chart that I totally love now, and probably more so because I don't have it, is the Montmartre, which I think is the one which Karen Needlebug started. If you're listening, Karen, I absolutely love that chart. And I did not download it when it was available, and now it's retired. But hey ho, that's just one of those things. And I think it might be available somewhere else, but I don't know if it's the same size and if it's on Golden Kite. My goodness, I don't fancy all the blended threads and all that sort of thing. So yeah, I kind of missed out on that one. Never mind. I thought it was beautiful. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. Sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not. I think my needle is behaving a little bit better now. I don't know what was going on before. Okay, these threads at the bottom can go out of my sight. Out of my way, more or less. I just want to focus on these ones here for the moment. Yeah. Such a lot of blended colours here. Like, just to make up a tiny square of that blue sky, there's like 10 different colours. It's just madness sometimes. I'm going to actually do this one. Sometimes I do the first row and the second row. Well, a lot of the time I do that because it just is just too much rethreading otherwise. That doesn't go there. It goes there. If I can stitch in a couple of rows instead of just working the one row, it just makes it that teeny bit quicker. I think I'm going to have to end this thread because that one is the same colour. Yeah. See, I have 2 threads of the same colour going. Okay, that's not properly properly threaded. I have two threads, not on the same needle. I have a thread of this color on this side of the diagonal and the same color on the other side of the diagonal, because I don't want to carry too far, or the threads on this side happen to be carried from the left side of the diagonal. Oh, it's being scratchy again. Stop it. Behave yourself. This is getting a little bit finicky now. One, two, three, four, five. I don't know what I've done here. Again. Come on now. We're almost at the easy part of this diagonal, which is just the black. So I'm trying to get these pesky colours out of the way. These blues and greens. It does take a little bit of patience. But I think my needle's being a bit funny today, because normally I'd be a lot quicker than this. And I'm also trying to angle right around my camera as well, so it's not exactly helping. I need this colour. I kind of ran on ahead just a little bit and I missed a stitch. That's fine. It really looks like it's going to rain today. Hasn't done yet, I don't think, but there's definitely some dark clouds coming along. Okay, so come out of my parking zone and do another stitch up here, which I forgot to do, and then park it again down here. No, one to the right. Goodness me, I can't even count to 5 today. What's wrong with me? What is wrong with me? This one, I'm going to dispense with this thread now. I just don't want to have, it gets so much easier when you start doing all those park threads, or doing away with them rather. I'm going to end this one. I don't need that. And what's this one? Oh, I've missed a stitch up here on this row. Let's get that colour. 3 and 5. We'll get there. Slowly but surely I will get to those stitches. Sorry if I'm not being so chatty at the minute, but I'm just trying to get through this little section here where they're all muddled up together, all these colours, and I know I'm going to go yakking away and I'm going to make a mistake, and then I won't be happy. So I'd rather go through it methodically, slowly, and do it right the first time. I mean, if you're not into doing, if you've not seen diagonals before, trust me, it's not usually as fiddly as this. It's just that I'm trying to manage quite a few colours and count and talk at the same time with my neck sort of wound around my camera. So yeah, it'd be a funny sight. If you were standing in front of me, you would think, my goodness, what on earth does she look like? Is what you would say. But I'm... What happened there? I think one of my... Yeah, my part thread got a little bit in the way. Normally, I'm pretty fast when I'm stitching and I'm not chatting. Have I got this one right? No. Yeah, that's where it's saying to park. Goodness me, I'm having parking, I don't know, parking issues today. I need to retake my driving test. What is going on? Okay. It's because they have put so many colours into such a tiny area. And even if you were doing it in cross country, you'd still have to change and do all these colours anyway. So it's not like I'm making it any more difficult. The only way I'm making it more difficult is if I'm parked in the wrong place, which I don't think I have. I think I've only done that once so far. But it's not a common thing. I don't normally, trust me, I don't normally park in the wrong place. If you're doubting my skills, doubt no more. Okay, I can get rid of this one. It's such a nice feeling when you come down and you start to eliminate them all. Yeah, it's very satisfying. I think we can go on now to the black because there's only a couple of colours left there. Phew, it feels like you're coming out of a really built up area, like a roundabout full of cars, chock-a-block, and now you're onto the road again, onto the straight and narrow, and there's no cars around you. That's how it feels. Out of the crazy zone. I think I may have to go and find a different needle when I'm finished because I don't know what's going on with this one. Okay, no more complaining about needles and park threads and traffic. Let's talk positive stuff. So I've got to 50% on my two big charts. And I'm so happy about that. I don't know how long it's going to take me to do, like I said I would do 1,000 stitches of one and then swap it out for the other, but I don't know how long it will take me to do those 1,000 stitches because I could be stuck in a really confetti area. It would take me 4 days, 5 days even to get 1,000 stitches done if I'm basing it on like 200 a day. And to be honest, if you've got mad confetti like this, even 200 a day can take quite a long time. So if it's mad confetti, could it even take me the whole week to do the 1,000 stitches? If I was doing, say, just like one colour background, that would take me like a couple of hours to do 1,000 stitches. So there is a huge difference in time depending on how many, you know, what way the symbols are and how many colours you have to do. So I could spend a week, for instance, doing one of my charts and getting 1,000 stitches, and then I could swap it out for the next chart and then do 1,000 stitches in 2 days on the next one. So yeah, as far as time goes, I'm not putting any limits on time because I know that it varies, and it would be stupid to say you have to do it in 3 days or 5 days, and then you have to do the other 1,000 stitches in 5 days, because that's just putting pressure on myself, and I don't want the pressure. I just want to be relaxed with it. So I'll just wait till I get to that 1,000 stitches, and then I'll just, you know, pop the other one onto the stand and start with that. So it's going to be like really laid back way, and not necessarily like, I'm not going to go for the time aspect of it, because especially now that it's the summer holidays and we're more busy than usual as well, so there's not going to be that time constraint. It just makes me stressed because I realize that if I've got other stuff to do and I feel like I've got to do 500 stitches as well, it'll just make me hate it, and I don't want to hate it. I want to enjoy it. So if I start to resent it, then I know that my plan will go out the window. So yeah, we're talking like laid back. So whenever, how long it takes. I'm going to leave that one there. Whatever time it takes, and that's it. I'm not bothered about that. But yeah, the plan is just to swap them out after 1,000, and that's it. Those 2 charts. And then again, Happy Village, and the other one will be on Saturday. And Sunday is a free day. If I don't want to stitch at all on Sunday, that's fine. Or I can go back to doing my sampler, which is in timeout. Or I can do any of the others which are on timeout. That's just a free day. Or I can do my knitting. The only reason I'm not doing that today is because I didn't get round to doing the stitching yesterday. I was busy yesterday. So that's why I've kind of, yeah, so there's wiggle room, kind of doing this one today instead of yesterday, so that I could do a stitch with me. And I think also I will be doing stitch with me's on the Sewing Lady and this one, to get those extra stitches in and focus in my own time on the Sad Fairy and the Riverwalk charm. And I will probably come back and do an update video at some point to put everything together, but that won't be right now because yeah, I just want to get some good progress and let you know the plans, really. I think you've sort of seen most of the progress in my last couple of videos anyway. So we're on to the black now, which is great. I can hear my son laughing in his room, and I don't know what he's laughing at a lot of the time, but does sound like it's very, very funny, and it's probably something silly that's happened in one of his games, so that's normally what it is. So isn't it a nice feeling when you feel like sometimes you feel like you're confused about what you want to do, because you really want to do everything at the same time. But you know you can't do everything at the same time. So you have to kind of sit down and make a plan. And even if it's a loose guide or a loose plan, and then you feel like, oh, you know, everything makes sense now. Why didn't I do this before? And also allow for plans to be able to change, because plans should be able to change. They should be able to change if they don't work for you. I think that's important, because when I started stitching and I started making plans and I tried to stick to the plan because I thought, well, I've made the plan now, so I really have to do it. Otherwise it doesn't, it doesn't make sense to do the plan, to say I'm going to do it and then not do it. And then I'd be really unhappy. I'd stick to the plan, but I'd be unhappy about it. Now it's just like, nope, if I want to change a plan, I'm changing the plan. And nobody's going to stop me, because I know after years of cross stitch that it gets tricky to stay in love with your project for a long, long time. That does stay tricky, and you need to have your brain does want variation sometimes, and you can get into all sorts of pickles, so confusing things. So you have to allow yourself to be able to adapt to also how you're feeling about stuff, because sometimes you just fall out of love with something. And I think it's a shame to, yes, it's a shame to let something go because you've fallen out of love with it. But I mean, it's your hobby, so no one should be, put a gun to your head and say you have to stitch this whether you like it or not because you started it. I don't think that's true. I think you need to do what makes you happy. That's the ultimate important thing above everything. There's too much stuff going on out there that makes people unhappy with this world. So at least do the enjoyable thing when you're doing your hobbies. Now, I think I'm going great guns here now. As soon as I get to the black, I feel like everything makes sense. And it's all becoming a bit easier now. I can get so much more talking in when I'm just working one colour. Because if I start working the confetti, I'd make loads of mistakes. No, I think I've made a mistake. No, I haven't. Have I? Here we go. No, that's fine. That one goes there. Why did I miss a stitch with the black? Do you know what? I make the most silly little mistakes, like just silly ones. Like I just missed one stitch with the black. What was the point of that? It wasn't exactly difficult to just do that one stitch. Okay. There we go. I think this needle is going somewhere else when I'm finished because really it's getting too scratchy for me. It's getting very annoying. Okay, that one goes there. 1, 2, 3. No, here. I don't know why, but I feel like I've got confused. Oh, I know why I'm confused. I haven't marked off a whole line I've finished. Ah, no wonder. So I'm parked here. Oh, that's another thing that can go wrong. If you don't mark off the line that you've just stitched, you can't count properly. It's a little bit fiddly in here with the green. A little bit fiddly. So what sort of colour charts do you gravitate towards? Talking about colour schemes. Do you go through like dark palettes, neutrals, shocking bright colours, purples are nice. I do love purples and different shades of purple. And I love teals and greens and turquoise and that. Really do love that. There's a fair few fiddly colours just here, so I have to be careful with my diagonal. You have witnessed a truly awful confetti section that I've just been through. Like, I could have chosen a more, like, an easier part of this chart to stitch, but no. Why not just be realistic and go for the whole realism of what stitching can be like? It's not always that simple. But I've got this. I've been doing this for a while. So I know what I'm doing. Even when I don't know what I'm doing, I kind of know what I'm doing. Okay. And even if you do get into a bit of a pickle, there's so much information online. It's fantastic now. Every time I have a question about anything to do with anything, and I'm not even talking about stitching, you just go to Google and you get a choice of responses. Now, they're not always valid, and a lot of them can be a bit fake, but for the most part, you're going to get a response to your question. So it's not like the old days where we never had the internet and you had to go and ask your granny, or you had to just not find out something until you got to a library. Yeah, I remember those days when I wanted to learn how to, I don't know, cook or something. And I'd just go to the library and get a cooking book. Who does that now? Like, do people still do that stuff? Because now I just go online and I look up a recipe or whatever it is I need. I don't go to a library anymore. I am a member of a library, but I can't remember the last time I went, to be honest, and I'm a big reader. What I used to like about the library is it was kind of like a going out. It was a going out thing to go to the library. It wasn't like a chore. It was just like a fun day thing. You could go and, I don't know, you could go for a coffee and then go to the library. You could even have a coffee in the library. It used to make you feel so, I don't know, privileged, you know, to be able to go and look at books and choose books. And I'm sure lots of people, even some of you, still enjoy going to the library today. But there's so much of this Kindle stuff now, and paperbacks in every charity shop, and there's books everywhere. Like, we went out on yesterday, actually, and we went to different shops and had a look at different places. And nearly every shop, even if it was a bric and brac or whatever it was, there were books for sale. There's books in baskets, books everywhere. So you don't even really need to go to a library to find something to read, because you can find something to read in the next 5 seconds. Even as you're walking down the street, you can find something to read on your phone. You can look through your Kindle app. So it's just astonishing, the amount of books that you can find just in an instant, in a touch of a button. So there's so much information now on the internet that it's kind of mind-boggling. Like, nothing's that difficult to find anymore. And I wonder if the cons of that kind of make it less satisfying at the end of the day, because when you have an excess of things, Do you really appreciate them as much? Because like, I mean, I've got like so many books on my Kindle that I'm probably never going to read but they're still there and I like having them there. But I don't feel excited about having them there because I know that, well, I don't know, they're just there. I don't have to hand them back to the library. I don't have to be in a hurry to read them. It's kind of taken away the privilege of having something, I think. I don't know if you know what I mean, but now when I look at my shelf and I see all my books, I think, you know, maybe I'll read them. Maybe I won't. Whereas maybe 20 years ago, I would treat them more like they were more valuable, I think. Don't know how you feel about that. Be interesting to know. And as an author, I also had a hard time knowing whether to make my book available in print or whether to make it just available in PDF form, because I know that through my research that you would make far more sales selling a book online in a digital form than you would selling it in a bookshop, because how many books in a bookshop do people have a choice of? Thousands, and they have to actually physically go around looking at these books, and there's so much choice, and they're much more, well, they were more expensive than the Kindle books, and you had more chance of selling Kindle books than you did of selling a paperback. But then people would say to me, well, I don't want to read your book on in Kindle. I don't have a Kindle app. I don't like it. I like paperbacks. So there is a great thing where you can get print on demand. Again, has pros and cons, but print on demand means that they could buy your paperback, but you'd only get one printed for that particular order. So it's just, print on demand. So there are several places, Amazon does it anyway. They will just print a copy of your book and send it to the buyer, which is great, because what you don't want is to have to buy 500 or 1,000 paperbacks that are going to sit in your house and you don't know if you're ever going to sell them, because that has happened to so many people. And it must be awful to try and flog these books, you know, not knowing if they're going to sell, especially if you decided to be an independent publisher. It's a very tricky thing. So Kindle has, and I know that my friends, a couple of my friends say that they much prefer Kindle to paperbacks. But I still like getting the paperback books. I still like reading those in bed. Something about, I don't know, I'm an old time reader, so I still like the feel of a book in my hand. I don't think I've turned my Kindle on for a while, actually, but I do have a stack of books beside my bed. So that's just the way I am feeling with it. Reading. Oops. I just have the end of this little square to do, guys. That's all I've got left to do. But this piece of string is just deciding to not work well with me. And this needle has decided to go a bit squiffy. And I'm wondering if I'm actually going to have enough here to finish this little edge or not, but we'll find out, I guess. I don't think so, actually. Might have to get a new thread in a second. But there has been an achievement today with this. I have managed to, or I'm managing to finish this little bit of diagonal section. And then I only have to do that little bit at the bottom to complete it. And I think the way this is heading on this chart, I'm going to do the diagonals all the way to the end and then come back to the beginning and start at the bottom left and do my diagonals all the way to the end. And I'll see how they go with that. I'll see if that satisfies my stitching urges. I think it's working for the time being. But the thread is getting a little bit tight now. So I may have to call it quits. I think I'm just going to end it here. Get a new thread. Let's just do that. I am using Anchor Black, by the way, in case you're wondering, because Anchor Black, this is how it looks. That's how the skein looks. Anchor Black is a better coverage, in my opinion, and maybe some other people's opinion, is a better coverage because the thread is slightly thicker. Slightly thicker than DMC. Sorry for the shuffling there. So with it being slightly thicker, it just gives that tiny bit of extra coverage, which is what we want. Oh, come on. Why does the last bit of the stitching have to be a faff? Now my threads are getting tangled up. Okay, so it's going to be a loop start because I have a long piece. Now my hairs are getting wrapped up in my hair's quite long. It's getting wrapped up in the thread, so I can't always blame it on the cat. To be fair, my hairs can be just as dangerous. Okay. Go away, hairs. Whew. Right, this cannot be difficult, right? We've just got one tiny triangle here in one colour. How hard can that be? You'd be surprised. Something can go wrong no matter what. We can get tangles, we can get knots. Nothing's going to happen. We're going to get a nice smooth end to this stitching session. I guarantee it. Okay. We made it, folks. I got through that confetti area in one piece, that one there. My goodness, how many colours did I have in that little tiny section? Now you can see for real how long it takes. What, an hour or so? Just to do that. How many stitches have I done? I've done 111 since I started stitching here with you. That's not bad considering I've gone through an obstacle course with colours Oh, it's so nice to have a little ride on the black after the confetti bit. I think I deserve a cup of tea and maybe a biscuit. Maybe. Okay. We did it. Almost. We did it. And I am going to stop here because I feel like that's a good place to stop for the moment, so I can get my tea and have a little break. So there we have it. Happy Village is now happier than it was before. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this session. I hope that you enjoyed stitching along if you did. And I will come back soon again to stitch with you and to update you on all my stitchy bits and pieces of information. Don't think I've left anything out. If you've got any questions, you can always put them into the comments. And yeah, I think that's it for today. Thank you for joining me, guys. Have a lovely rest of the Sunday and a great week next week. And I'll catch up with you again shortly. See you later. Bye.